Okay, folks, next up, an exciting talk with Carl Brooks, the Managing Director of John Brooks Limited, a manufacturer of automation products themselves. So what a way to fit our theme in automation and a recent changeover to the cloud and MYOB Advanced. So that's really exciting. It's great to have you, Carl. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Grant. I'm excited as well.
Oh, good on you. Cheers. We really are excited because automation's your company's mission for other industries. So that's exciting. But first of all, give us an overview of what John Brooks Limited does, and then we'll kick off after that into more detail as to the advanced journey.
Cool. Yeah, so we are a family business. I'm third generation, and John Brooks is my grandfather. So we represent international companies from overseas in the New Zealand market, technically supporting, stocking their products, and then have a sales force that looks and distributes that throughout New Zealand. Over time, we've taken some of those components that we've distributed and added value to them ourselves by adding software and microcontrollers, and then therefore we've created our own manufacturing environment, and we are primarily distributing into the dairy farms, wineries, breweries, those pump control systems. So we're about 30 employees across the business. We've got 3 physical branches, 4 warehouses, and yeah, it's been some interesting times recently.
It certainly has in New Zealand, and with COVID, and then Cyclone Gabriel comes along and kicks us as well. But yeah, so in terms of the supply chain from overseas and things, but you do local manufacturing and assembly of those products as well, right? So you do a bit of everything locally as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl. Now, tell us about your MYOB Advanced journey. So you obviously took the decision in the last year or two. So walk us through that.
So we went live in April 2020, which is COVID month. So that was an interesting time as well. But the reason we went to MYOB Advanced was we had a good system. It was fast and useful. The team really liked it, but it was not on the cloud, and therefore we had to have these wide area networks between our branches. They're quite expensive. People couldn't access the system from the internet. They didn't have it through their mobile app. So we were looking from an IT perspective to put our ERP system in the cloud, and therefore it would free up and allow us to access it from anywhere, cut out a lot of costs that we were doing for these networks, using VPNs and all that, and then take it to the next step and integrating it with other cloud apps and unlocking further value with our data, which I'll talk about a bit later on.
Excellent, yeah. And so with that, we know that, well, the theme of this user groups is the audience is here to get excited and inspired about automation. And as we said, you certainly know what that means and do it for others. What sort of customizations and tweaks have you done to MYOB Advanced to get more efficiency, automation, if you like? That of course means efficiency and repeatable, scalable power that doesn't require a human with spreadsheets, etc. What have you achieved so far, and what's coming?
Yeah, so we try not to customize MYOB too much, so that we kind of take advantage of MYOB when they are rolling out their releases every second or every 6 months. So we kind of get added features and values there without any problems. So that was kind of a core strategy, but it allows us to mold it and configure it, and it is a really large system and powerful system to do that. So because we have probably 20 out of our 30 employees sales force, a lot of what we're trying to do with MYOB is make them more efficient. So for example, taking an inquiry from an email, we can use the Outlook plugin that comes with MYOB and automatically just fill in a few buttons within all in Outlook, and it'll automatically post it as an opportunity and get it into the system. We've also taken another approach recently where some of our products are quite technical and tricky, even especially for new employees, to be able to design and provide a quote back to our customers. So we have created a whole escalation pathway now. So once the opportunity is in the system, we can then escalate it to a team across the country, and and then a team leader would select a team member to work on that opportunity and then hand it back to the originator or the sales rep to present back to the customer. So we're really kind of leveraging on employees scattered across the country that would best fit the technical ability to solve that customer's problem, have some knowledge transfer in the process back to the originating customer, and take the work in progress or the inquiry that might be on someone's email box or in their head or on a notepad, stick it into the system so that you got the date, you got the customer, it's in the backlog, and others can jump on and help.
That's amazing. The other thing is that, as you said earlier about, wide area networks and VPNs and dialing in and all that, this is all done in the browser, which is on just about every device we use from our pocket right to the desktop. And that must have been a great leap forward. I was thinking, you said, oh my goodness, we went into advanced live when the month that COVID locked us all down. But actually, that timing turns out it's actually the right sort of automation and slick sort of browser-based community that you've got. It was the right time to do it. I'm sure there was a lot of pain in that, there was, but that's wonderful. So that automation for the sales escalation process sounds really exciting. That's obviously made a difference and been good. Have you got other examples where you've tweaked, turned on a few tweaks like that have just made a big difference?
Yeah, so we do a lot of purchasing of stock. So one of the things that we did was integrated MYOB with an analysis engine called NetStock, and that does a daily sync of all our current stock levels, all our sales orders in process, all our existing purchase orders. And it's like a calculation engine that then tells you what you need to purchase from each supplier. And then you can just import back in a purchase order. So basically does all the thinking and all the analysis of what you need to purchase. And then our purchasing team can run that, daily or even weekly, and then just start putting the purchase orders off. So that's been a big game changer for us. It's helped us to fulfill sales orders better. I think we went from a 51% fulfillment rate to 71%. And we're trying to aim to go up to 90s, but it's a big cost going from 50 to 90 to have that stock always available. So yeah, that was a really key automation that has allowed us to take that thinking off.
That is amazing. And if ships would just deliver containers to New Zealand a bit better and more regularly, I'm sure you'll get to the 90, right? It's just about the dependency on that supply chain as it pushes back through the supply chain. But NetStock, we hear great things of NetStock, and it really has done some fantastic. It's wonderful to hear it's been working brilliantly for you too. And also, as well as NetStock, have you got other add-ons at the moment or integrations that have made that sort of difference as well, or are they coming?
Yeah, so one really cool thing was Power BI. So what we've done is, again, it does a daily sync over to Microsoft's Power BI of all our sales information, and it then can generate a report like instantly fast, like very impressively fast. It's basically a compiled report. So it allows me to make a question up like, how many flexible impellers did we sell last year, and be able to jump on Power BI and like answer it in minutes without having to run reports, waiting for that time for it to process. So I've been really impressed with Power BI.
And once again, Carl, that's in your browser, right? So, you can give a report into the hands of any particular staff member that's relevant to their particular role. Again, just simply on an iPad or any web-enabled device, basically, and anywhere in the world. So it means when you go on your big overseas trip, you've still got everything at your fingertips thanks to Power BI. And there's no dial-in, it's just the browser. You'll log in, of course, and you'll have security. So again, it's great to hear that Power BI stepped that area up, and of course, reporting is so important.
And you can actually take the Power BI report and embed it into MYOB as its own dashboard. So it's all within MYOB.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, you can. And the possibilities, that's great. And talk about automation again. I mean, that's just so exciting. It's so good to see that you're whacking around the place to make sure you're getting what you can out of it. You can't do everything at once, but what else have you sort of added? I mean, both of those are really exciting, NetStock and Power BI. have you
So
got
we just recently focused on managing our expense receipts for credit cards. So previously, now we've kind of spread out our sales force and we've got a head of sales across the whole country. All the sales reps were emailing in pictures of receipts and he'd have to compile it and approve them. And it was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So we just rolled out using the MYOB app to photo capture the receipt, having the sales rep classify it themselves, and then it would basically at the end of the month they can just add all these expense receipts to a claim against a statement, and it takes a lot of work off the accounting team. There's an approval process inside MYOB to accept or reject these sets of receipts, and yeah, and now we've just removed the paper part of it as well. So that's quite exciting.
That's very exciting. I was happy as an employer actually making people do it the hard way so that they didn't bother. So yeah, so that's a good one too, and amazing to think that that's native to MYOB Advanced, and yet has absolutely made that very efficient for your staff that are all over the place, and they do have expenses. And yes, they should be paid back for those expenses, I know.
Yeah.
So Carl, anything else on the horizon then? So you've got a lot going on. This is great.
So yeah, we're in the process of implementing the manufacturing edition. We have been doing kind of kit assemblies, and that's been great within MYOB currently. But what we're really hoping to get out of the manufacturing edition is two key things. The first is when we get a sales order to build, say, a custom pump trolley for a winery, when our manufacturing team gets around to building it, there's a lot of sub-assemblies in that build, and they might be missing a component, so it creates time lag to actually manufacture it, and they're not noticing it until they actually get around to building it. Yeah. So now with the manufacturing edition, as soon as the sales order's in the system, it can go through those sub-assemblies and find all those components and start the purchase order process off to make sure that we have all the components of all the sub-assemblies coming in stock, so that when we build the product, it can be done with no additional time delays. So we've got quite complicated products, so we're really excited to automate that purchasing of the sub-assembly components.
Now that's a mouthful, and yes, it does. That's a great MRP workflow. Of course, you've got multi-level bombs as well in those finer components, and yeah, that's great to hear the manufacturing modules doing. We'll do that for you, and we expect it to do that. It's its job. So that will automate that. And again, it's just a whole leap forward once you start doing that as well, and you deliver on time. Your DIFOT takes another step level up with that sort of MRP work, doing all the hard yards for you in the background. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Anything else to mention before we wrap up?
Yeah, so the second point on that manufacturing we're looking forward to is previously when we create these pump control systems for wineries and breweries, there's a lot of accessories and kind of optional features that you could add on. And we had that as an Excel spreadsheet in the past, and the sales team would select the particular features and then present it as a quote. So it was actually outside of our system. But now we can do these build to orders, and you can actually select all the different accessories and features and build this product. It will be all within MYOB, doing it as a quote, a sales order, and generating the BOM for this custom build automatically into our manufacturing edition. So we kind of eliminated another Excel spreadsheet that was outside of the system, which is a really good automation feature.
Well, we all love Excel, bless it. It takes businesses to a level that we couldn't have got without it. But there is a time when you really have to have the job of getting rid of Excel. And our mate Stephen Friend always says ERP stands for Excel Replacement Program. And it's so true. It's your job to get rid of all those spreadsheets, have it in one system, one platform. We love to talk about MYOB Advanced as just a platform, not just a platform, a very powerful one. And you've just described so many instances of getting possibilities of automation on that very platform, using it natively, and again, all in a browser. So that order goes into it can go into the browser wherever that salesperson is, and behind the scenes there's a very complex multi-level bomb is producing the actual work order for the factory. I mean, gosh, that's exciting. That's really exciting. So Carl, that's wonderful. Any final thoughts? I mean, this has been, we could talk about, I've just loved to keep talking to you. It's just such a good story about what you're doing with MYOB Advanced for such a complex business. and all the challenges you have with it.
Yeah, so one thing we really like using it for is reminders. So every Monday morning, the sales team get an email of all their overdue opportunities or quotes that are out in the system. So it kind of prompts them to be able to follow up with those customers. We're also using it for our own automation engineers, which do project work and R&D work. We are using it to capture their time, so they can do projects, they can put tasks in. So we've actually moved from using Agile and Kanban boards back into using tasks within inside MYOB, and then you can add your own time activities. So say work 4 hours on a Monday for a particular feature or bug request of a project, and then at the end of the week, they can generate a timesheet automatically from all those activities. And then we've got a whole workflow set up for once the timesheet is generated, we can then generate an invoice for our customer, and it'll list out all the time activities for the customer. So when we send the invoice to the customer, they know exactly what we've done for them, and hopefully they pay us on time.
That's incredible. Honestly, Carl, that's amazing. That's so good to hear, and you've done so much with the product. So we thank you. User groups and our audience will have loved that, and they would have picked some ideas with some of them going, gosh, I wouldn't mind doing that myself. Such a good story. Thank you so much for helping us out today with telling us your story. And we wish you all the best. And obviously, you're just going to keep going on that platform until the whole business, you won't even go to work, it'll just run. And it'll never get
that's the idea. Retire early.
Yeah, that's right. Or at least have a lot of holidays, right? Hey, thanks. You've been wonderful. And good luck to John Brooks. We appreciate it here at User Groups. Cheers.
Thanks, Grant. Catch you guys.
Nice. Okay, folks, another very interesting model here. This particular model is going to be interesting in the upper finance area of MYOB Advanced. So TA Field Estates is a very, very long-standing business in Australia, very exciting. And it's my pleasure to welcome today Alex Detherich from TA Fields Estate. Alex, you're the finance manager.
Yes.
Welcome to User Groups.
Thanks, Grant.
Yeah, great. Thanks for coming on. As I say, this is going to be quite interesting because this is the upper area of the finance strength of MYOB Advanced. We look forward to that. Before we get to that, can you tell us a little bit about the business?
TA Field Estates is a long-established business in Australia, in New South Wales. With the basis of it is farming enterprises throughout the state, with a history of meat distribution, and now a focus on the production of meat and wool and cropping across New South Wales.
Great. Yes, so obviously been at it a long time, and it's evolved over that time, as do accounting systems. Now, let's talk about your one. So you've got MYOB Advanced, of course, and our theme at the moment is automation. And you've got some pretty special stuff going on that you've found in the strength of MYOB Advanced. So can I just ask you, probably what's one of the most important pieces of power, if you like, and therefore automation in Advanced you're using?
Yeah, so we manage a number of different companies here at the head office, and we lean quite heavily on the ability to process transactions between one company and another company here. And so using the inter-entity journaling function enables us to pay an expense out of one company bank account, have that recorded against the balance sheet in the payor company, and the recipient company can have a corresponding credit to their balance sheet, with the expense being recognized correctly in their profit and loss. It cuts down on the amount of work that we need to do by automating that sort of duplicate process in both ledgers. So yeah, we find that to be a really handy little function there. Another function that we find quite useful is the use of the sub-accounts, which enables us to allocate costs specifically to each enterprise, and then to drill down on each activity. So whether it be adding, the chemical costs for canola, or the drenching costs for sheep, or the processing costs for our wool, across a number of our different properties, that enables us to track those costs very accurately. It's a function we find really useful. Another one that we sort of enjoy using here is the adjustments in the inventory account, which enables us to put through any quarter end or year end adjustments there to take into account any natural increases in our livestock deaths which occur, to allocate petrol expenses, so carry the fuel as an inventory item, and when it's used we can then allocate that out to a cropping enterprise or just the sort of general usage on the farm. So that's all of these little functions cut down the amount of work that we need to do, and help automate the business here. So
no, that sounds fantastic. Now it really does, doesn't it? The power of MYOB Advanced sort of GL top end finance areas, the three things you've described there, the posting of one transaction automatically turning up and hitting the right P&Ls and cost allocation. The whole three of those are all about obviously a very complex model with up to you've got around 16 entities, all in their own right with balance sheets. So to do that stuff at the press of a mouse, and one posting and off it runs and it does it is really, really fantastic. It's one of the key areas of the strengths of MYOB Advanced.
Yeah.
You also, and of course, the great thing is, you said, when you put those using the sub account feature, when those transactions go in, they're tagged with this was this area, this was this farm, this was this animal breed, whatever those segments are, and of course they're all specifically made for your business, and that's the magic of it as well. Of course, we want to get those back out in sensible reports, fast and really good logical reports. Now, I understand that you use Velixo to pull it all back out again and report for you the board packs and everything else you need to report to. Yes. Have you found that those segments come alive once you bring them back out in the likes of the Velixo?
The Velixo report is a bit of an evolving animal in itself.
Yes.
It's something that we need to ensure that we have all the coding in for, and we sort of update the numbers, the formulas, I guess, as we go along. But we found that to be a really useful piece of kit as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's good. And also, well, if we imagine how many people would need to be sitting on spreadsheets, there'd be a pool of people to try and keep up with all the things that you're doing in a couple of clicks now in those three areas that you've talked about, the inventory, etc., and the inter-entity sort of transactions, which is part of their strength. So now it sounds like you may have a few things lined up and a sparkle in your eye for some of the further automations available. What's coming in the future that you want to add to the platform that could automate you even more? Because we know there's plenty of options and plenty of things we could add to Advanced. Yeah. So what have you got in mind?
Yeah, so look, I think that the ability to be able to save files onto each individual transaction is really handy. And certainly when we're recording sales and sales of sheep, and you might be talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, we can save files that have the dispatches from each farm, the invoices that come out from our suppliers, the weights of those animals, all of those sorts of things are really handy. Taking that a step further, I think it would be handy if we could save individual accounts payable invoices to transactions, which sort of cuts down on the need for us to have so much paper around as well. So, the general direction is to head towards paperless office, and being able to, have 2 clicks of the mouse button on an expense and then pull up that invoice. I think would save a lot of time.
It really does. That's a great example of automation. And if you step into that soon, you won't know yourself once you get those projects completed, because again, you get to that one-click stuff as opposed to how we traditionally process accounts payable and so on.
Yeah.
Anything else to quickly add before we wrap up?
Yes, I think also, utilizing bank feeds to a greater extent would be handy. It means that you can look in real time, or an overnight refresh of your bank account. You can see sort of what's been transacted and how you can process that and keep on top of our, your reconciliations and so on a
Yes.
real-time basis. So that's handy as well. So
Oh, that's great. Excellent, Alex. Well, thank you so much. I do have one more question. Is New Zealand lamb tastier than Australian lamb?
Well, it comes down to the breed there, Grant, and you've got to have good genetics, as we know. So
yeah, that's right. Oh, look, let's not be arguing about that. It's all good. Hey, thank you. That's great, Alex. It's been great to talk to you, and we appreciate you talking to the audience for our user group audience.
Yep.
And again, while there's a lot of businesses that possibly don't get to have to manage that much complexity at the higher financial multi-entity stuff, for those that do, if they're not using any of those features, you've given them an insight into how they could be, and it sounds like it's really been a big power boost for your business. So thank you so much. Thanks for talking to us today, and good luck with all those, all the agriculture and all the lambs and everything else that goes with it in your business going into the future. Cheers.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Grant.
Thanks.
What I will also be doing now is talking about a few more success stories with my colleague TJ, and we'll go through a few of those of varying examples of improvement in automation and enhancements inside a company's organization. And so the first company I want to be talking about is Corrosion Control Engineering, better known as CCE. And they're an engineering company that deals with the prevention, mitigation, and management of corrosion in various materials and structures using a variety of techniques and materials to protect against their corrosion. And their work is pretty critical in industries such as oil, gas, transportation, construction, and manufacturing. Now, the thing is that they were doing a lot of manual time card entries. So the process was a very extended, very long process. Individuals were having to fill in Excel spreadsheets and fill in a lot of extra work which had an impact on how they could make sure they could actually monitor the one thing in particular, which is time off in lieu, the toil, which is really a pretty precious thing for a lot of workers in these industries. The other thing is also to take into account in different states in Australia and also in New Zealand also, these regulations do vary. So it really made things a bit hard to manage and monitor over these things and took a very long time. And as you can see, the administration team took over a week to employ and process over 100 employees with and there was a risk of potential errors. So what was the solution? So we looked at implementing time cards inside the MYOB Advanced itself. So this was a customized process that we did. So we customized, add in additional features whereby they could fill in additional information on the time cards themselves, enabling the employees to record their overtime and also to lodge their time off in lieu for that. So in that sense, the time cards now are imported into the pay run. So we saved a lot of time in that process. There were significant savings in terms of the reduction in time for the payroll processing team. So from 1 week down to less than a day. So a significant savings. So those teams could focus on other areas of the business too. And also in the same time, reducing errors while ensuring that overtime claims were also up to date. So the most important thing out of all this was a greater sense of employee satisfaction. The employees weren't too worried, and instead of the pain of having to do a manual process, that automation improved a lot of the relationship between management and also the employees themselves. So it definitely was a big win for CCE themselves. The next company, which is more along the management and reporting side, will be introduced by TJ. And TJ, over to you.
Cool, thanks, Brent, and thanks for that overview as well of the with what happened with the CCA. And it's always really good to hear as well how that relationship between the between the staff and employers and stuff like that, how that improves. And it's wonderful to see a good example like that. So the next success story is Nationwide Jewelers. So as a bit of an introduction for Nationwide Jewelers, they're a well-known brand in the jewelry industry with over 50 years of experience. And as a member-owned cooperative, Nationwide Jewelers represents over 500 independent jewelry retailers across Australia and New Zealand. Now, Nationwide Jewelers is also known for its exclusive jewelry and making it a go-to destination for customers looking for unique and personalized jewelry. So if you're looking for something for the other half, good place to go. So from the challenges perspective, now with their previous setup, Nationwide Jewelers, they had a lack of visibility of detailed reports for their members. And if they've got 500 members, you can imagine how important this is. And as they were using multiple CSVs and Excel spreadsheets, the report building was actually a really time-consuming and tedious task. And I'm sure some of you can relate to that. So from a solution perspective, they implemented Velexo for their reporting. After receiving detailed training on how to build reports, they're now able to actually build custom reports specific to their needs and requirements. And the ongoing training helps the business to develop further reports as and when needed across the benefits, across the business. See, look at that. Someone's listing the benefits. So as an idea from Velexo, if you haven't heard of Velexo before, talk to your support partner and ask them about it. It's actually really, really cool stuff. So Velexo is actually specifically made for, developed for MYOB Advanced. It's a very powerful Excel-based reporting tool. Now, using the power of Excel, Velexo utilizes the data from MYOB Advanced to generate detailed reports efficiently. So it's streamlining that process, and it gives management access to a range of reports in real time. Very, very important in this day and age to have up-to-date information. No point looking at last month's stuff. So Nationwide Jewel is now able to see what consumers are buying in Perth or Sydney or Auckland, and they can use this to make better strategic decisions. Very, very important for large businesses and for the members, of course, as well, to see what they're buying and how they can plan and strategically move forward as well. So with that in mind, if you're looking for a better, more efficient solution regarding reporting, have a talk to your support partner and see if Velexo will be a good fit for you. Now, this brings us to our next success story of Velco, and Brent is going to take this. Over to you, Brent.
Yes, thank you, TJ. Yep, always great to hear when the reporting is, as you mentioned, it's really critical to business and making sure you get that real-time information. So the next company, as TJ mentioned, is Velco. So Velco is a development business specializing in building Australian communities. So it was founded by Andrew Welch, and with over 100 years of combined experience and expertise in residential, commercial, and retail development, Andrew and his team have built one of Australia's most awarded developments, community developments, and has continued to set the standards in that industry. Now, they had a lot of issues with in terms of that was expense claims and also invoicing payments and so on there. So there was a lot of inefficiencies with that, and also inaccuracies with there. And so the workflow was a bit of a tedious process of having to record that on a spreadsheet and then bring those forms and documents back into the office and get those processed. So it took a very long time, and as you can imagine, a couple of weeks to actually have a claim processed and come back to the staff members' accounts and so on, whatever money they had let out. So what we looked at was implementing something called ProSpend. So ProSpend was formerly known as Expense Manager. And just to give you a bit of a heads up on ProSpend, it is an all-in-one spend management solution. It gives businesses control over accounts payables, credit card reconciliation, and expense claims through OCR capabilities. Some of the newer features, which I'd love it and I can't wait to see in our business, are virtual cards, there's e-invoicing, and just to name a few. So it's definitely a growing, organized development software for accounts payable. So this was implemented in there, therefore, to manage their expense claims and invoice payments, and they also leveraged the OCR capabilities to help improve that speed of processing. So what happened? So there's a reduction in the operational costs. So there was no more time having to do these manual processes. It was a great simplification of the expense reporting and claim process. So, and also in particularly the accuracy of the expense claims through those OCR capabilities. So once again, we were finding that a process that was taking staff members a very long time to process was now going through a shorter period. The periods of processing those payments were much faster. So therefore, things were moving a lot better and more streamlined, which enabled the staff members to receive their funds back into their accounts once those claims were processed. So it really has been, a great thing to see all these different businesses using different types of modules with Inside Advanced or looking at third-party solutions. We always ask you to discuss with your implementation partner, what are those options there, have those discussions with them, see what is out there that can help improve and enhance your current advanced solution. And you can always go from there and keep on building on as you go through your experience with Advanced itself. And that is all from us today. And I would like to say just thank you very much for your time.